Well, hello and welcome. It's Amanda here, the Creative Gardener. So, I'm welcoming you, all our new viewers and our regular viewers, back into the garden. And I'm going to show you the way in which I work out here, and just give you some ideas of things that I try and the way I see this creative outdoor garden space. And I'll talk about some of the different things I'm experimenting with out here, so come on and join me. Okay, come on. Okay, so one of the things that I'd started doing out in the garden is harvesting the wood. Now, I don't just cut down needlessly. If something needs trimming back, then I'll trim it back, and then I'll think to myself, okay, so what can I do with it? So this particular tree this particular tree is part of the clemmer cherry tree, and this is the tree in front of us. Now, the clemmer cherry tree, I've got a video on it on my channel, and I'm just trying to see if there's any of the cherries on there at the moment. I think it's probably, if you'd have come about a month ago, you would have seen some of the cherries. Anyway, so it's going to produce these cherries which can be eaten, can be made into a jam, has been used by youngsters. I mean, my husband Alan was talking about when they were young, they used it as like a form of glue to glue kites. Now, this particular tree grows extremely fast and at one point all of this was covered with the branches, and so what I got my son to do was to cut some of the branches off, and I'll show you what we did with them. Now, the wood, I haven't actually used this particular wood in some creative projects, but I've got enough now that I can see how I can use them in terms of wood burning, or what I can actually carve in from them, or just making small things. I don't have the equipment that a woodworker, what they're called, woodcrafter has. But so I just want to see how I can experiment. So we can see this particular branch, it goes all the way up into here. It then branches off, and if I try and step back, we might be able to see the top of it peeping out. No, we can't. But one of the branches actually came up and all the way down, and we've cut that one. And so the reasons why I've got these here, and I've got some more under the house kind of storage area, is I want to make some arbors, and I looked online and they looked fairly easy to make. So I'm just going to try it. Why not? So that's one of the things I will do. The other thing that I did with the clemmer cherry branches is put them on the beds. Now, this particular section, this is the first section in the garden, is probably the only one that's got its beds defined as well as this. I have spent quite a bit of time when I first did the garden, and the others are slightly less manageable, but I've worked with what I've got on a budget, etc. So there's loads of cobwebs. I've told the spiders not to build nests webs over the paths, but I think some of the young ones haven't yet got the memo. Anyway, so what I do is I put the sticks in, and that helps define the bed, because what's happening, as I've probably shared before, is that when we have a really heavy downpour, it just washes away the soil and it pushes it down here, because we're actually on a slope going this way and going that way. So I put the sticks in, And then I put branches either side to help keep the soil there, basically. So these were laid down yesterday. They're starting to go brown, and then they're just going to basically all turn into compost over time. And what will remain longer is the branches. It's the branch itself. The leaves will just fall off and it will just go back into the soil, which is great. So that's what I've done to try and build up the beds, and I've used the sticks. So we've got creative wood projects in the studio, we've got building up the beds, turning it into compost. I could actually put it straight into the compost bin, cut it up fine and turn it into compost. The arbor, and one of the things it was doing in this area, so this had, all this area was enclosed with the branches, but I've opened it out because I think some of the plants that I've planted here prefer a more sunnier, more sun, basically, like my carambola, five-fingered fruit, this tree here. Okay, so there's some other experiments I'm doing in the garden, because as like I'm walking on the path, it's got some the grass is growing, and it has to be it's usually worse than this. But what I did in this particular bed, you might see remnants of it, is I put down cardboard. So this was the almond milk cardboard, and my tongue's suddenly hurting. Anyway, so I put down cardboard and it's all disintegrated, and I also put down some shredded paper. So I'm going with that experiment again and seeing how I get on with the shredded paper on the path. And let me show you. You can start to see little bits here, and oops, this is where some of it's spilt, and this is what I've done. So along this path I've just laid down the shredded paper, and then I've gone along it and compacted it. Now I did it in this bed primarily because this is one of the worst beds, so if it rains, I mean these were slightly deeper, but because the water has washed down this way and down this way, it's washed all the soil into this pathway. So one of the first things I did was to dig out this end and make it shallower, so when the water comes down it would stay here a little bit longer, and the water would feed the plants either side. So that's the idea. So I thought to myself, let me put down this paper and see what happens again. My past experience is that it keeps the grass down. For me, it's okay. This is not one of those manicured gardens. This is about producing a food forest and looking at ways as less invasive as possible that I can do that, and on a budget. So I've got loads of paper. Loads of paper to shred, so I thought, let me just try this here. I know that it's worked before. Let me see on a bigger scale, because I only did a small section of the other bed. Let me see on a bigger scale. The other thing I will be doing is, I wouldn't just I'm not going to be leaving it like this. When we get the grass cut, so the grass is due for a cut, as you can see here all around the garden, is I'll come back and put the grass cuttings down, and then that will just die down. So you've got the layers, you've got the soil underneath, you've got whatever grass was growing, you've got the paper, which counts as the brown material, and then I'm going to put the grass down. When it first goes down it's green, and then it's going to obviously die down. So this will just then become like this. So it will be, you'll have the grass down. When it rains, it's not going to be muddy. You can walk on it, and you won't be you won't be able to see much of the paper because it would have been covered in grass. But that's like just a first layer. So that's another one of the things that I would do in the garden. And oh, the other thing I'll show you, here's another thing. So I had an old wheelbarrow, and the wheelbarrow surprisingly had a hole in it, and so I've used it to grow things in it. So currently in here we have some broadleaf thyme, we've got a moringa tree, the seed of which dropped in here somehow, and I recently just planted some turmeric, so that's what we've got here. So I'm looking forward to having some fresh turmeric growing. So that's another thing you can do, you know, look around your garden space and see what you can utilize that you already have in the garden. Another thing which I've also shared briefly, oh, look at this crack. I mean, we've had quite a lot of water, quite a lot of rain falling. Anyway, let's go in a clearer area, because what I was going to show you, there's a glass there. I'm trying to create an effect, but I think I need a long mirror to do that, where it looks like, you know, the glass would reflect the greenery around it, and then it looks like it goes further. Anyway, so beside it, what I've done is place the branches, so the branches can act as a dry deadwood fence. So on the other side of this is the organic farmer, and so I'd planted the Mexican sunflower so that it could be, I wouldn't have to look over there, it could be separate, so it's kind of worked. Well, it has worked basically. So let's move on, and I think I'll probably just show you maybe one or two other things that that I've, you know, used to experiment. Well, not experiment, but you try to utilize. So some of my plants need more water than others, and I've got this container here next to a plant which I'll talk to you about in another video, and it just catches the water basically. And so I come out every morning, so I come out, if there's water in it, I give it to the plant next door. I give it to whatever plants need more water. So as I say, the wood, the cuttings I use in chop and drop. And so here's another thing that I would use, so I need to come and collect these. So these are this is a moringa tree. I've got over 50 now, if you count all the little ones that kind of pop up in places. Look, we've got one here. They just kind of pop up. Now I could pull that up and you can eat the leaves, and that serves for, you know, a meal for someone. Not a meal. Some of the vegetables, or you can put it in a smoothie or whatever. But when they fall, see, I haven't been as vigorous in collecting them. So when they fall, the seeds fall out, obviously, and then I've just allowed themselves to grow wherever they want. I will, you know, move them if they're on a path, and here's some more that need to be, some more grass that needs to be cut. But they fall and they break open, and then they leave these. So these I would then put, as you've seen, in the path. I could cut it up, and, you know, it helps it break down further. But it's a way of, you know, again, putting nutrients back into the soil, and, you know, utilizing what I have out in the garden. So let's go this way, and I'll show you some of the deadwood fence in more action. So this is just so I'm doing this all around the garden actually, and in the front. But here we've just got the branches. It's going to die down. What I've been doing is applying, so I'll put a stick in here and then allow all the branches to fall over in the back. I think something tried to jump through, or whether it's Cole maybe tried to jump through, but here's another example of it. And I'll probably have to move these because I planted this here as because I didn't have anywhere else to plant it, so I put it there temporarily, but the roots are so deep now that I can't move it, so I want to kind of bring everything backwards. The other thing that you'll see around the garden, again it needs grass needs cutting, but is the use of rocks. So I use the rocks as a way of, defining paths and creating definition on the paths. They're free. All of these rocks were collected from the beds, so you can't quite see the sections clearly from here, but this is the third section, and then we've got the middle section, and then the last section that we were in. You probably see you can see the paper there, so that's the first section. Anyway, but the rocks I've utilised. As I said, I've used them to define the beds. So that's what I wanted to show you today. I've got lots more to show you over the weeks, and hopefully some updates as well. And I look forward to seeing what you're getting up to, what you're doing, and how you are using your garden space. So take care for now, and I'll see you soon.